Illinois.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of my amendment. Secretary Buttigieg and President Biden's policies have created chaos within the FAA. Under the Biden administration, we saw the first full ground stoppage of all flights since September 11th. Taxpayers deserve to know where Secretary Pete was jetting off to on a private jet while our constituents were dealing with canceled and delayed flights. My amendment will force the FAA to hand over the flight logs for the Transportation Secretary's private FAA jet from the last 3 years. The Washington Post reported that Secretary Buttigieg took 18 secret taxpayer-funded private flights. Taxpayers deserve transparency and oversight. I urge my colleagues to support transparency for the Secretary's private flights and adopt my amendment. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady from Illinois reserves. For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Respectfully claim time in opposition.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. This would require the FAA to submit a report on the flight records for the Secretary of Transportation for the previous 3 years. Obviously, as the lady indicated, it's about Secretary Buttigieg, who I think has done an outstanding job as our Secretary. This amendment provides no benefit to the FAA. They already know where he's been going to, and would be a waste of the administration's time, limited time, and resources. And in fact, there's no reason to think that his flights haven't been, but for reasons that benefit the United States and the Department of Transportation. Now, if the amendment was something about senators leaving their states during emergency climate events and going to Acapulco or to wherever it was in Mexico, I could agree to it maybe. But that's not what it's about. There's no basis for why this report should be needed. There are many pressing issues the FAA should dedicate its attention toward in this reauthorization, and the gentlelady's amendment would detract from those efforts. To that end, I urge my colleagues to oppose this amendment, which has no basis in fact concerning anything Secretary Buttigieg may have done in a way improper. And I reserve my time.
The gentleman from Tennessee reserves. The gentlewoman from Illinois is recognized.
I urge the adoption of this amendment, and I yield back.
The gentlewoman from Illinois yields. The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you, sir. It was Cancun I was trying to think of. So if the amendment dealt with Cancun when Texas was having a climate emergency, that's a different situation, and people might need to know about that. But Secretary Buttigieg, there's no reason to think he's done anything wrong whatsoever. So there's no basis behind this amendment, no fact basis, just conjuring up something. And that's why I continue to oppose and continue to reserve.
The gentleman has all the time left. The gentleman wished to yield.
Should she yield?
She did.
Well, I would just again urge my colleagues to oppose the amendment because it would be a waste of the FAA's time, and it's certainly something that's intended to try to put some sully the name of our distinguished Secretary of Transportation, who I think has done an outstanding job. And I think the time that the airlines were closed down was because of the NOTAMs. It didn't have anything to do with the Secretary of Transportation or even the FAA. And I yield back my time.
The gentleman from Tennessee yields. The question is